All right, click the links to join channel here over at Subscribestar, Odyssey, BitChute, and Telegram if you're brave, but you have to strap on those asbestos panties. So Google comes for Russell Brand. My gosh, what weird timing. Certainly activating the almonds here. So it's weird how Epstein and Maxwell list is not investigated by the media and government, but this kind of stuff is. Like, is this the most relevant use of our time right now? Yeah, totally. We just ignore the other stuff. Here's a shiny object for you. Oh, it just kind of seems weird timing is all. I mean, what are you, some kind of istophobe? What? What? Did you just call everybody that? So the problem with the those lists is that the media and government are on those lists. So don't hold your breath waiting for the corrupt media and government to investigate them. The FBI is corrupt. Yeah. So you're expecting the corrupt FBI to investigate itself? Like, at some point you look at the government and realize, like, so isn't it all corrupt? There's no fixing it at the federal level? Yes. We're just going to vote harder next time. Good luck with that. So the isn't it kind of weird that that guy Hillary Clinton himself in jail and the cameras shut off, even though he was in a jail cell designed to be watched, and the guards were actually surfing the internet looking for the new motorcycles that they were going to buy with the money they got for turning off the cameras. And the weird thing is that his partner in France, same situation, same thing happened. The two guys, and that, with the list, and that list never got out. It's kind of weird. The funny thing about those guards is I suspect in a few years they're also going to suffer tragic accidents because you can't have loose ends like that. So eventually they're probably just gonna, oh, it's a drug deal gone bad. Like, okay. Anyway, so there's a whole lot of understanding that the curiosity killed the cat. It's like, well, you can't run a nation like that if you have a hidden, shadowy government. It's better to fix the problem right then and there and start over again, because otherwise you're essentially slaves. And it's like, well, yes, but the government is very well paid. It's like Nancy Pelosi is worth $200 million, and she's just one of many, to be fair. I go after her because she got the D after her name, but there's a whole lot of people like her. It's like, yeah, so how'd you get that $200 million? Oh, insider trading, but my husband did the insider trading, so it's, yeah, but the SEC is supposed to go after you for that kind of stuff anyway. Yeah, but they're not. So, I mean, there's no fixing it like a corrupt system like that. Anyway, so nobody talks about these hot issues on YouTube because you just be demonetized and kicked off. So it's like these issues just kind of never happen. Oh, so what's funny is Biden did appoint Allison Nathan. She was the judge on that Maxwell case to the Court of Appeals. She's actually the judge who sealed the records of the victims' testimony, who were explaining what was really going on behind the whole Maxwell Island situation type of thing. But that testimony's out there. There's like video footage out there. Probably not going to find it on YouTube. You can be looking a while, but it's on other platforms. It's weird. It's not allowed in the mainstream. It's like literally her testimony. And Allison Nathan, the judge who's appointed by Biden, Court of Appeals, sealed that testimony. Isn't that weird? Isn't that so weird that nobody's investigating this? There's a picture of Maxwell in her bikini with the Forbes lady, which is you see who owns that company. It's convenient when 6 global companies control like 90% of the mainstream media, and Google controls a big chunk of social media. So where exactly are people supposed to get these stories out there? Well, there's no free speech on social media, and yet social media is the new town square, and our politicians don't seem concerned about the lack of free speech, though the founding fathers seem to be really into free speech. In fact, the media and government are starting to seem afraid of free speech. Kind of weird. Like, the media loved free speech when they were the only ones who had access to it. Now they say we need censorship to protect free speech. To protect that was the New Zealand lady, I think, to protect the marginalized, oppressed, and disenfranchised from online misinformation. Except if you're being censored by the government, who's full of parasites, then you're the one who's marginalized and oppressed, because literally they're silencing your voice. And who exactly determines what the truth is? Oh, well, Nina Jankowicz does. You can always trust the government. Except that, that's not how a free republic works. That's an authoritarian dictatorship when the government determines what the truth is. If the government and media are scared, I mean, that's not how that's not what the Constitution of the Founding Fathers were setting up. There are protections in place so you don't trust the government. In fact, even if the government becomes tyrannical, there's writings on that. It's weird, though. If you talk about that, the FBI will probably literally burn your house down. So if they'll burn down a couple of wrong houses first, and they'll get around to deleting you and your whole family. So if the media and government are scared of free speech, then they need to be constitutionally, according to the Constitution, replaced, and a government needs to be in place that actually honors and respects individual liberty. The media and government have a history of lying and spreading misinformation, and yet they want to be the ones to determine what misinformation is. It's like, well, how do you know that? And why do two parties to a conversation, two men are discussing issues, they don't need a third party in the form of the government to determine what the truth is. That's not how free men live and operate. They're able to determine for themselves what truth is. You're saying you want a Nina Jankowicz in the Ministry of Truth, and they literally started that, and it's still there. She is not the head of it anymore. It's underground, but it's still there. It's going to come back anyway. So when the whole Wu flu hit, Google and the puppet master media was very much against an open discussion about the scientific method, which is odd because that's not how science works. That's how a dishonest narrative is protected. That's how you use fear to consolidate power and make a lot of money to get the cattle used to the steps of first you declare an emergency, then you remove liberties to gain more authority for the people's safety. Then the emergency never really goes away. Oh, and you need to increase taxes to pay for these emergency services, and you never get your rights back. You just get distracted by some new shiny objects in the way of bread and circuses, then a new emergency, and then the camps for your own safety. And the reason I go into all this for Russell Brand is because the core issue is free speech and the idea of, are the people represented in a republic, or are there hidden shadowy figures behind the curtains actually giving the marching orders? And the funny thing about this graphic is it's a graphic on a screen. It's not entered into testimony. It's not subject to cross-examination, and the offer of it, who swears to the chain of custody of it, and subject to the truth of the matter asserted, the hearsay rules under federal evidence law and all that whatnot. They're not subject to penalty of perjury. There's no constraints on this. This is just an image on social media. Is it true? Well, when you go through a legal proceeding, that's what the concept of perjury is for. It's like you impose some penalties, so you entitle that the victim or the accused is subject to due process, so a witness can't get in there and lie. If they lie, they're subject to perjury, a felony. It's a crime of lying while under oath to protect that concept of due process. An image on a computer screen and passed around social media without a source is worthless. And even if it has a source, it's like it's not sworn testimony. Anyway, so Brand was talking about things that these billion-dollar industries would prefer that he didn't discuss. So the media got their orders to take him down, and that's exactly what they did. And they spent a lot of money. The takedown of Brand, I think I covered that in the last video. They spent a lot of money to investigate his background. You look at it, it's like, so why him? Oh, why him? Why him exactly? Why not Mayorkas or Garland or Biden or Kamala Harris or Schumer or Pelosi or somebody who's in government? Like, you want to speak truth to power. It's like, why is the media going after a social media figure who may or may not have a shady past? And you spend a lot of money to run this investigation. Why aren't you going after Scott Wiener, San Francisco State Senator, who's making it easier for adults to have prurient relationships with children? Why aren't you going after the homeless issue in San Francisco or Portland or Seattle, where they're spending hundreds of millions of dollars and the money just seems to disappear? Why aren't you going after Mayor London Breed or Gavin Newsom? Why did you spend hundreds of thousands of dollars to investigate some pop culture figure with a small YouTube channel, 6 million people on a YouTube channel, talking about politics and just an alternative perspective? Why the mainstream media and social media spend so much time blowing this story up when there's clearly other more important things? Like, this is important if it happened, but it's important legally speaking. In a criminal, you go to the police or FBI wherever this occurred. But why is the media focusing on this? Oh, because it's a shiny object because we had to destroy Russell Brand because he 6 million, 7 million people on YouTube, and he's got a Rumble channel. It's not nothing. It is a counter narrative, and he's got influence, and we don't like that. So that seems kind of weird because all these accusations without the penalty of perjury are just kind of meaningless. That's why Trump's accusers didn't file criminal charges against them. They simply used the court of public opinion. They used CNN. And Anderson Cooper interviewed a woman who was clearly insane. You can find that interview. In fact, he had to keep cutting to commercial because she was out of her mind. And a producer would look at this, would do the pre-interview and go, "Yeah, we just can't. this you can't have her on because she's insane. But they put her on to cover a narrative. It's like, well, people were accusing Biden and a bunch of left wing people also. How come you don't interview them? Because the media is completely controlled by the same left wing that controls all the tech media. It's like, so obviously if you don't see the bias by now, you're out of your, you're just got your head in your sand. Anyway, so what happened was Russell Brand was some drugged out left-wing hippy-dippy, talking about all this kind of new age crystal nonsense. And then he got clean and he started noticing things, and he used Rumble and YouTube to chat about the things that interested him. And he was an issue because he was a left-wing guy. He was someone who's able to kind of reach across the aisle, and that's very dangerous when it's someone who starts off as just right-wing. They stay in a right-wing echo chamber. The people who are in the middle ground have to be destroyed. They're the most dangerous people. And then the left-wing BuzzFeed level media started to get nervous about him because part of the thing was how he was talking about was how dishonest the Lion media is, which, I mean, they are, and they took that personally. So they started writing these Mary Sue level vague attack articles about how Brown was right-wing and he used inflammatory language for clicks and headlines, which is how all of YouTube works. And he's got a very successful channel to the tune of millions of dollars a year, but they didn't have anything concrete. They just knew that they couldn't have a liberal, somewhat liberal, popular guy start to notice that the media, government, and some other industries were lying for their own interests, which they obviously are. They got caught all the time, and somehow the left wing never catches on because the lies are always benefiting the left wing. You know what? Maybe I'll leave it at that. It's weird to talk about things that YouTube, Google clearly does not want you to talk about. But check out his channel. He's on Rumble. He really should get on Odyssey as well. Start spreading out. And like the more people that start to migrate away, or at least start setting up parallel streams on Odyssey and Rumble, the better. Because like YouTube clearly has an agenda. Anyway, like, comment, subscribe, check me out on Subscribestar. If you want to support my vitally important work, it's not the YouTube stuff, it's the other type of stuff. And I will see you guys all next episode.